I'm Gaye Rollins, and I was president of the conference for 19 years and turned it over to Viv last year. And I have a lot of family history from here. And I think that was where most of my passion came from, for wanting the conference to continue, to be strong, to keep moving, because my forefathers really did fight for this and worked very hard for it. And so I don't want to let them down, even though they're no longer here, but we need to carry on for them. I have a lot of history pictures up here that you can come and look at later. One of the things was, where did I put that book? Okay, my great-great-grandparents moved to Eden Valley area and farmed. Their names were William and Elizabeth Matheny. And their children, two of them was my great-grandfather, Hiram. I believe that's great-grandfather? Okay. And their other son, Simon Peter, he was one of our pioneer ministers that helped start the conference and get things really going here, too. And then Hiram had a family that is my mother's aunts and my mother's mother. So there were 4 women in the Matheny family. One married a Patrick, who is big in our history, James Patrick, and that's his picture here. Who married him? Or Sarah? Maud, thank you. Maud Matheny married Patrick, James Patrick, and they worked endlessly for the conference, and then they moved to Ohio, and he was also the first president, I believe, of the General Conference. And my grandma married Arun, a sister to Maud, Alda, and I have her picture up here because then my mom and 3 of her sisters were very involved, and all their children, basically. But anyway, then another sister, Matheny's sister, and I have to look at this because I know it all, but I forget very quickly. Okay, there was Esther, and Esther was a Jones. She married a Jones, Esther Matheny. She lived around Eden Valley all of her life. And she lived to be over 100. And I have, actually, here I have a poem that she wrote. And it was in one of the things that were published through the General Conference, I believe. And then there was, let's see, we got, okay, Esther, Maud, Sarah, and then Sarah, who is Vivian's grandma. She was up here earlier. Sarah married a Kirkpatrick from northern Minnesota. And a lot of that whole family, they lived around here and up in the northern area by Black Duck because they were loggers. A lot of the men were loggers, and that was a big thing. And they would travel up there, and I have some letters from your grandma and from my grandma and, well, the sisters. But they would take turns going up north to cook for them, for the loggers, their husbands or relatives, whatever. And so they would go for a week, and then they'd come home, and then a couple more would go up and do the cooking. So they were very involved with that. But the Matheny farm that my great-grandparents lived on here is right down the road on County Road 9. And the house still stands there. It's been added on to a little bit and not well cared for, so it kind of looks like a shamble. But that was the original Matheny farm, And that's also where the Eden Lake Cemetery is. And I believe that was some of their property that they gave to the church as the cemetery. So, and that's right there. And my grandparents, great-grandparents are buried there in the Eden Lake Cemetery. And a lot of our church people are. The Eden Lake Church, the reason I'm talking so much about that is because it was one of the first churches around this area. I think it might have even been before the Eden Valley Church was built. And it unfortunately burned down. So those people pretty much then moved to Eden Valley, going there, where they had a church. I've got letters up here that are kind of hard to read, but I found them in some of our researching, my researching, and it's from the Eden Lake Church asking, it says, "We, the First Church of God at Eden Lake, Stearns County, Minnesota, to the elders and brethren of the Church of God met in conference at the Eden Lake, Stearns County, Minnesota. We wish to hold our membership with the conference and reside or receive benefits from you in your prayers and otherwise. Not in a very prosperous condition, teaching once in 4 weeks by Peter Matheny, preaching by Brother somebody else, and I can't read it. I mean, I don't understand it. Okay. By the order of the church. And that was written by the clerk at the time for the church, and it was a Mills, which the Mills are in this area a lot too. Anyway, there's tons of history here. And this is actually, I have a picture, and this is in our history book, but this is a picture of the conference at Eden Lake Church in 1903. So that's the only picture I know of that church before it burned down. So anyway, there's just much to read, much interesting stuff. And I don't know, what else do you want to know? You know, it's a lot easier. It's hard for me to stand up here, and I'm not going to read everything because there's tons of stuff. What I did is I took the history book, this book, and I took it to the printers and enlarged every page. So I've got them up here. If you want to kind of go through them and look at things, you can. It's easier to read because it's bigger. And also, having our Greytown Church here, people, is wonderful. And they're in the history book too. And this is a picture that's in that history book of the Greytown Church. So you'll have to, I don't know, do you have a copy of that history book? You don't? Okay, we'll have to get you one. I was going to bring some. We have a few at our church in Litchfield. And, oh, that'd be wonderful. And then maybe add to it, or not? Do you know about that?
Well, I think Russ just assigned it to me.
Oh! That happens, doesn't it?
So, yeah. So,
okay. Yeah. Come on up here.
So over the last couple of years, our churches have been contacted across the country, and people have written histories of their local churches and have sent those in, and I think those all came in by 2022, and obviously some things have happened and people have died in the last 2 years, but that book, along with some of the conference histories, ballooned to over 1,100 pages, which would be difficult to open. I mean, it would be like one of those old German Bibles that nobody looks at, but it sits on your table and keeps them from blowing away in a tornado. So we are, right now, we've started refocusing on publishing because I think one of the things that got away from the conference for a period of time is putting out material. And that not only includes histories, but we're looking to produce new material and people who are writing, and it's important to have our voice out there. But back to the history, since it's 150th. We are right now pulling out all of the conference histories from that book to be a separate book on the general and state or regional conferences, and allow the local church's history book to be its own book, which is now down to about 850 pages. So we're going to do some editing and try to make that more manageable, but hopefully that local church history book will be available in my ideal by general conference, but I would imagine by the second half of the year you'll be able to order it on Amazon. So, and then once we have that process down, then the state conference history book will come shortly thereafter. And then in addition to that, we have a number of other writers. We'll be reproducing some books that have been published in the past, and then we're looking to do some more books in the future.
Thank you very much. Speaking of, well, Seth coming up, stay standing. And Scott, Dana, where are you? Is she in here? Oh, there you are. Stand up. Viv, I'm trying to, all of the Matheny relatives, basically, were related that are here right now, are the ones that are standing. And Scott and Seth are from Stan and Peg Ross family, and Peg was my mom's sister. So she was one of the 4 girls in the Matheny family from our grandma. And then he's a different grandma. But he's one of the Matheny sisters, his grandma. So through the Matheny family, this is who's here.
One of the claims that St. Grandma's died, she speaks about coming from a covered wagon from Iowa up to, I think it was, originally they went to the Virgin Church.
Virgin, okay, Lester Prairie.
Lester Prairie. And I haven't even got my kids out there, so yet at Lester Prairie, where the church was, it burned several years. We had it burned.
Yes, we have burned it.
Because it was
bad.
It was bad. It was a terrible place, really. But anyway, the cemetery is still there. And it is full of dogs and their families and a lot of the family.
Yep. So anyway, that's how we're all kind of connected, and that's what makes it so special for all of us, too. I don't know. Now, each of the churches did bring boards in the state of Minnesota that we currently have. So if you want to take time, look around, look at pictures, see what we've been doing in Minnesota. We do have some pictures, thank goodness, from the Greytown Church as well that Paula brought. I don't think there's anybody here from Lester Prairie. But anyway, I guess people will be by their boards for a while, so if you have questions or anything, they can maybe answer your questions. I don't really have anything more, because like I said, you need to read. Although I did want to point out one more thing, or 2 more things. Okay, up here on our Pioneer Ministers, and Russ went through this last night, our Pioneer Ministers, but Simon Peter Matheny is up here, and he would be my great-great-uncle. And Scott and Seth's and Dana's. Yeah. And then there's also L.R. Wood, or Loxley Wood, and he would be my great-great-grandfather on my dad's side. So he was also a pioneer minister. And in the history book, my grandpa's mentioned, Henry Wood. He was ordained a pastor through the conference in Minnesota, and he did that for a while, but then, I don't know, he quit doing that. He became a carpenter. Yes?
The history book contains sermons by some of these pastors.
Pastors, right.
They're very interesting sermons.
Yeah.
And the oh, my time is up, I guess it's time to stop. And that's it.
And then it ends.
I needed to know that.
Well, and as I think Paula mentioned, when they had conferences back in 1903, or I don't know, even before that, when they were having these conferences at the different churches, they were for a week. They were not for a couple days. They were a week long. These people were so committed that, and they were probably mostly farmers, I would guess, but they would spend a whole week, and they couldn't wait to get there. They couldn't wait to be around other people that they loved and were in the conference. Like beliefs, having the same beliefs. So anyway, I hope you enjoy all the pictures. I hope you enjoy all the history. I have a list of all the presidents for Minnesota up here on this board. And I also have a picture, and it's called Brian Nobler. And it must have been a newsletter or some kind of a little letter that they sent out to the people. And this has a picture of the island causeway, the road that comes across from the mainland. And it tells how they maintained it about 20 acres total. In the past 2 years, corn and soybeans were harvested to add to the help of building on the island. But they borrowed, people brought things, and they hauled tons of earth and rocks from around the area to build that little causeway road that has lasted this long, which is amazing. So, although we've had to put more gravel on it, I think. A few times it's been flooded. But anyway, that's my story. Sticking to it. So, yes?
Was James Patrick an ancestor of Cecil and Merle Patrick?
Cecil and Merle were his sons.
Okay.
Yep.
And then Cecil Patrick is Bill Guthrie's
Dad, right.
Merle always said he would be late for his funeral.
Yes, and I have their pictures, the Patrick family up here, because James Patrick was a pivotal person in our history. And he had 3 sons. He had Merle and James and Carol. And Merle was very active in the conference, the general conference, as well as Minnesota, but mostly general conference, I think. Yes, and they had a daughter, Ione, as well. Yep. So, there you go. Any other questions? Yeah. There are churches in Iowa. Waterloo has a church.
Costa.
Huh?
Costa.
Costa? Okay.
Burr Oak.
Burr Oak.
Burr Oak is Indiana.
Oh, that's
What
Indiana.
kind of oak is it? Oak lawn.
Oak Lawn is what it's called. That's what's near Costa, Iowa. There's a church in Belle Plaine.
Belle Plaine, okay.
Three are still.
Okay. So those.
Sometimes those kids.
Well, yeah, they've shared it up here. Iowa has come to camp out here. Well, Wisconsin, Nebraska, big time. Yep. And they're all our church family, regardless what state. But Minnesota is still the best. I believe so. Greytown is the only one that I am aware of that was mentioned even in our history book.
There's another one that describes it. Beloit.
Beloit?
It's right down in the border.
So is that still in
Yeah,
oh, okay, so that's,
a fairly new church, right?
okay.
It was started when Jason graduated from Bible college in the 90s.
Okay, so that's Jason Turner?
Yeah.
Okay.
There used to be one that was a little further north in Wisconsin too. I'm not sure where that was. It was north of Beloit a ways.
Okay.
But I can't remember the names. I think there was a Rock family up there. There was somebody up there. You got to know, I got to know some of the Illinois conferences.
Oh, sure. Okay.
About sometime.
Niels? Okay, I don't think it is because I don't remember ever hearing that name. Okay, well, I hope you enjoy all the stuff. I've got stuff that the conference, General Conference sent me, articles that back in 1952 and 49 where they were getting together for a conference, and that's all here. Article about our camp out here and what Minnesota has done with our Bible camp, the work that was done here. So anyway, there's just a whole lot of history here. I don't even know what time it is, but
It's 11:15, so we've got 4 or 5 minutes.
okay, so if you want to just yeah, look around and visit and look at stuff, and then lunch is at noon. Okay, thank you.